Imagine sitting in a crowded cafeteria, eating your lunch, when suddenly a tiny, trembling voice asks you a question that freezes your entire world. A little black girl, holding nothing but a dry piece of bread, looks up at you with tears in her eyes and whispers, "Can I eat with you?" At that moment, a billionaire's heart shattered. He had money, fame, power, but nothing prepared him for the story. Hiding behind that one heartbreaking question, what happened next, changed all three of their lives forever. The cafeteria buzzed with the usual midday chaos, clattering plates, loud conversations, ringing phones, and the echo of hurried footsteps. People moved from table to table, laughing, gossiping, complaining about work, and scrolling through their phones. It was a normal day for everyone, except for billionaire Daniel Carter, who had come here unexpectedly after a meeting nearby. Wearing a simple hoodie instead of his usual tailored suit, he blended into the crowd more than anyone realized. He enjoyed moments like these, moments where he didn't feel watched, photographed, or judged as a billionaire, just a man trying to eat a meal in peace. But peace shattered in the next second when a soft, trembling voice rose above all other sounds. "Excuse me, can I eat with you?" Daniel looked up slowly, unsure if the words were even directed at him. And then he saw her. A little black girl, no more than 7 years old, stood beside his table. She was thin, painfully thin. Her cheeks were hollow, her lips cracked, and her small hands clutched a plastic tray, carrying only one lonely piece of dry bread. Her clothes were too big for her tiny body, and her shoes were torn at the sides, barely holding together. But what struck Daniel the most was not her appearance. It was her eyes. Her eyes were wide, innocent, and full of hope. Yet behind that hope hid fear, exhaustion, and a sadness no child should ever carry. People around them turned to look. A few whispered. Some frowned. A couple of teenagers snickered. Someone muttered something about beggar kids ruining the place. But the girl didn't look at them. She looked only at Daniel, as if his answer would decide her fate. Daniel's breath caught in his chest. In that simple question, "Can I eat with you?" he heard a lifetime of struggles. It wasn't a question about food. It wasn't even about sitting at his table. It was a question coming from a child who had been pushed aside too many times. A child who longed for kindness. A child who just wanted to belong. Daniel felt his heart beat slow. A strange heaviness filled his chest, a mix of sadness, guilt, anger, and deep compassion. He opened his mouth, but for a moment no sound came out. The girl's fragile voice had knocked the breath out of him. Finally, he managed to say softly, "Of course you can. Please sit." The girl's eyes widened, almost like she hadn't expected a yes. Her small hands trembled as she carefully placed her tray on the table and sat opposite him, her legs barely reaching the chair's edge. The noise of the cafeteria returned, but for Daniel, the world had changed. Because nothing, not money, not success, not fame, had ever hit him the way those 6 words just did. And he didn't know it yet, but this tiny girl was about to change his entire life. Maya sat quietly, her back straight and her hands folded, almost as if she feared she might break a rule by simply being there. Daniel noticed how carefully she placed her bread on the tray, as if even touching it too fast might make someone think she didn't deserve it. To ease her discomfort, Daniel gently slid his own plate, filled with rice, chicken, steamed vegetables, and fruit, closer to her. "You can eat this," he said softly. Maya shook her head immediately, her eyes lowering. "It's yours." "And now," Daniel said kindly, "it's yours too." She swallowed hard, still not touching the food. "Are you shy?" he asked. She shook her head again. "No. My mom says we shouldn't take too much. People don't like it when poor kids eat big." The sentence felt like a knife twisting in Daniel's chest. He had seen poverty before on news channels, in charity programs, in reports he funded, but hearing this from a child sitting right in front of him made it painfully real. "No one here is going to be upset," Daniel said firmly. Still, she didn't move. "Tell you what," he continued with a warm smile, "let's share it. Half for you, half for me." That seemed safe to her. Slowly, she picked up the spoon and took the tiniest bite, almost smaller than a bird's peck. The moment food touched her tongue, her eyes widened, a mix of surprise and delight. It was as if her body had forgotten what real food tasted like. "You can take bigger bites," Daniel gently encouraged. She nodded shyly. With each bite, she became a little more relaxed. Her shoulders loosened, her breathing softened, and a tiny hint of a smile began to form at the corner of her lips. "What's your name?" Daniel asked. "Maya," she whispered. "That's a beautiful name. Maya, how often do you eat here?" She looked at her hands. "Not every day. Only when Mom gets paid. And today?" Today she didn't get paid. The lady she cleans for said she talks too much, but she didn't talk. She only asked to go home early because I was sick yesterday. Daniel clenched his fists under the table to control the anger rising inside him. He couldn't imagine how a hardworking mother could lose her pay so easily. "Do you like school?" he asked. Her eyes lit up. "I love school. I want to be a doctor. I want to help people, like you helped me." Daniel froze. No business achievement, no award, no billionaire title had ever touched his heart the way Maya's innocent words just did. He realized something powerful in that moment. Sometimes it takes a child with nothing to remind a man with everything what kindness truly means. After a few minutes of eating, Maya finally relaxed enough to swing her legs lightly under the table. She seemed more like a child now, less like someone carrying the weight of the world on tiny shoulders. Daniel wanted her to feel safe as she could be with a stranger who cared more than he expected to. "Where is your mom now?" he asked gently. Maya wiped her lips with the back of her hand. "Working. She cleans houses in the morning, the evening, and sometimes even at night. So she's very hardworking," Daniel said with admiration. "The hardest," Maya replied proudly. "What about your dad?" Daniel asked softly. She paused, took a breath, and said, "He left when I was 3. Mom says he went away for work and never came back. But I think he didn't want us. That's why I try not to be too much trouble for Mom." The maturity in her voice didn't match her age. It broke Daniel again. "Does your mom know you came inside to eat?" Maya shook her head. "No. She said I should wait outside the cafeteria until she finishes. But I got hungry, and I saw your plate." She said the last part with a guilt that made Daniel's heart ache. A child should never feel guilty for being hungry. "How often does she skip meals?" Daniel asked. Maya looked down. "Sometimes she gives me her dinner. She says she's not hungry, but I know she is." Daniel felt a lump in his throat. He didn't know whether it was sadness, anger at society, or admiration for the woman he hadn't even met yet. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" he asked. Her face brightened. "A doctor. A real doctor. One who helps kids who don't have money. I want to open a free hospital for them." Daniel leaned forward, fascinated. "Why a free hospital?" "Because people help Mom only when they get something. But poor people don't have anything to give, so I want to help them anyway." Daniel swallowed hard. This girl, this tiny girl with torn shoes and one piece of bread, had a heart bigger than anyone Daniel had ever met in business. "Do you study well?" he asked. She nodded eagerly. "Yes, my teacher says I'm the best in class. She said if I keep working hard I can be anything, but..." Daniel sensed hesitation. "But what?" Maya hesitated, then whispered, "Mom wants to send me to a better school, but we can't afford it." "That's okay, though. I study hard. I'll still be a doctor one day." Daniel looked at her for a long moment. Her hope was stronger than her hunger. Her dreams were bigger than her circumstances. And her courage. Her courage was something he knew would stay with him for life. Daniel stood up suddenly, surprising Maya. She looked scared. Did I do something wrong?" "No," Daniel said quickly, kneeling beside her so he could look her in the eyes. "You did everything right. Come with me." She hesitated, then followed him as he walked toward the cafeteria counter. The manager looked up. "Can I help you?" Daniel nodded. "Yes, I want to make a change here." The manager raised an eyebrow. "What kind of change?" Daniel looked around the cafeteria, at the teenagers laughing, the employees gossiping, the people ignoring the little girl who had been starving silently. Then he said clearly, "From today, any child who enters this cafeteria hungry will eat for free." The manager blinked in shock. "Sir, the cost..." Daniel cut him off firmly. "I'll cover every expense. Every month, no limits." A hush fell over the cafeteria. People stared. Some gasped. Some smiled. Some looked ashamed. And through it all, Maya clutched her small tray, unsure whether she was allowed to feel happiness. "Sir," the manager said slowly, "are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." The manager nodded, still stunned. "As you wish, Mr. Carter." People whispered. "That's Daniel Carter. The billionaire? He's funding food for kids?" "Wow." Maya tugged Daniel's sleeve. "Does that mean other kids can eat too?" "Yes," he said softly. "No child should feel scared to ask for food." A tear escaped her eye, but she quickly wiped it. Then she gathered the courage to ask, Can my mom eat here too? She doesn't eat a lot. She just works too much." Daniel smiled warmly. "Your mom will eat here every day if she wants. And she will never have to worry about money for food again." Maya's lips trembled. "Thank you. Thank you so much." Daniel placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Your mother is a strong woman. Strong women deserve respect and support." Maya nodded proudly. As they walked out of the cafeteria, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in years: purpose. Not the purpose of business deals, profits, or investments, but the purpose of humanity. Maya had unknowingly awakened something in him, a part of him that had been buried beneath wealth and corporate success, and he was ready to follow where that feeling led. When Daniel offered to drive Maya home, she hesitated. "Mom says I shouldn't go with strangers," she said softly. Daniel smiled. "She's right, but you can call her from my phone." Maya nodded and dialed her mother's number. "Mom, I'm coming with a nice man. He bought me food." There was silence. Then a worried voice asked, "Who? Where are you?" Daniel gently took the phone. "Hello, ma'am. My name is Daniel Carter. Your daughter is safe. I'm bringing her home." There was another long silence, the kind filled with fear, confusion, and disbelief. Finally, her mother whispered, "Thank you." The drive to their neighborhood was quiet but comfortable. Maya looked out the window, humming softly, holding the leftover fruit Daniel packed for her. When they reached the apartment, Maya jumped out happily. "This is my home." Daniel stepped out and found a tired, thin woman rushing toward them. Her uniform still had cleaning stains on it. Her face looked exhausted, but her eyes were full of love for her daughter. "Mom!" Maya ran into her arms. Her mother hugged her tightly. Then she looked up at Daniel nervously. I don't know how to thank you," she said. Daniel shook his head. "You don't need to thank me. You've done more for your daughter than most people ever do." She looked away, ashamed. "Sometimes I feel like I'm failing her." "You're not," Daniel said firmly. "You're a good mother, a very good one." Tears filled her eyes. Daniel continued, "I want to help. I'd like to pay your rent, your food expenses, and Maya's school fees. She wants to be a doctor. I want to support that dream." The woman covered her mouth with her hands. "No, sir, that's too much. We don't deserve—" "You deserve it," Daniel said gently. "You both deserve it." Maya hugged Daniel suddenly. "When I become a doctor, I will help you too." Daniel laughed softly. "Just be happy. That's all I want." From that day forward, Daniel became a part of their lives. He visited often. He helped Maya with her studies. He supported her mother with work opportunities. He protected their dignity quietly, without showing off or posting anything online. Maya never ate alone again. Her mother never starved again. And Daniel, the billionaire who thought he had everything, realized he had been missing the one thing money couldn't buy: a family. And it all began with 6 simple words from a hungry little girl.
"Can I eat with you?"